Hi and welcome back to my Mediterranean anti-cancer kitchen. The tomato season's drawing to a close and I've decided to stock up on tomatoes for those dreary winter months. So I managed to buy several crates of delicious sun-ripened tomatoes and I'm going to dry them in the oven and pack them in olive oil and then enjoy them on pizzas, in salads, in soups in the next few months. Tomatoes are a nutritional powerhouse. They're packed with vitamins and minerals and particularly various members of the carotene family: alpha-carotene, beta-carotene, lutein, which among others is very important for eye health, and lycopene. Lycopene is thought to reduce our risk of developing cancer, especially in men. It lowers the risk of prostate cancer. Lycopene is found in the skin of the tomatoes, so ideally we should eat the skins. And when the tomatoes are cooked, and especially when they're cooked with olive oil, the lycopene is much more easily absorbed by our bodies. So that's what we'll be doing with our oven-dried tomatoes. The best tomatoes to use for drying, I find, are the oval, longish tomatoes called Roma, because they're fairly low in water content and so they dry more easily. Cut them in half, and again in quarters. Cut out the little stem inside, and then just slip the seeds into a bowl, like that. Once they're more or less clean, you don't have to be too particular. Put them on a baking tray until it's full. Next, if you have a mezzaluna, which is a herb chopper, use that to chop garlic. If not, you can do it with a large kitchen knife. It doesn't have to be very finely chopped, just sort of moderately finely. And once you've done that, let me just brush those off. You scatter the garlic over the tomatoes, like that. And it'll infuse them with a delicious, gentle, nutty, garlicky aroma. They actually dry up quite nicely and it's not at all pungent, not at all strongly garlicky. Like that. Now I'm going to scatter this with fresh oregano that I've picked in my garden. Kitchen herbs are quite easy to grow. This one has been in my garden for years and I never do anything with it. It just keeps growing. If you don't have a garden, try a window box, and if that doesn't work, just use dried oregano. It's very tasty. Now, a few grinds of black pepper, just a little salt to help dehydrate the tomatoes and boost the flavors just a little. And finally, for a tray this size, I use about 3 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil that I drizzle lightly over the tomatoes. 3 and 4. There. Now I give the tray a little shake, make sure everything's nicely combined, and then off it goes in the oven for, depending what temperature you set it at, for about 2 or 3 hours. Now we'll slide this in the preheated oven, preheated to 120 Celsius or 250 Fahrenheit. And when you close it, jam the door slightly open with something like a cork or a cooking spoon so that the moisture from the tomatoes can evaporate. Leave it in there for 2 to 3 hours. Keep checking to make sure that the tomatoes are dehydrating nicely, and basically just dehydrate them to the point that you'd like them to be. Right, the tomatoes are finished roasting, so let's have a look. Oh, look at that. They shrivel to about 1/3 of their size, but they've tripled in flavour. Once the tomatoes have cooled for a few minutes, you can start transferring them into an empty jam jar. Make sure it's well washed and sterilised with boiling water. Pack them fairly tightly. And bring all those nice bits of garlic and herbs in. Doesn't matter if they look a little shriveled, they'll be delicious. That's roughly how much you want to be putting in. Don't overstuff it because you want to make sure that the tomatoes will be nicely covered with olive oil. Then we top everything with extra virgin olive oil, which is going to keep the tomatoes fresh. Make sure that they're completely submerged because if anything sticks out, it's more likely to go off. The advantage of olive oil is that it's rich in monounsaturated fats and polyphenols, which have antioxidant effects. Many sun-dried tomatoes that you buy in the shops are kept in sunflower oil, and sunflower oil is very rich in omega-6 fatty acids, which actually promote inflammation and which we should avoid eating in excessive quantities. That's yet another advantage of homemade roast tomatoes. Right, once you've finished adding the olive oil, seal it tightly and store in the fridge.